The Nigerian healthcare system, ecosystem, is evolving. Now, the provision of complex tertiary care, i.e. looking after the patients with infarcts, with intracerebral bleeds, with subarachnoid hemorrhage, requires capacity. It requires passion. It requires us coming together, what I call the CCP way. Collaboration, cooperation, and partnerships. And this is for one reason. The Nigerian patients are worth it. I'll crave your indulgence. We've all been sitting for too long. Can you please rise up to your feet? And please, thank you. Can you please rise up to your feet? Stretch a little bit. Thank you very much. You can have a seat. Lovely to get me. My name is Douglas Emeka Oko, consultant neurosurgeon. I'm now fully based with Citadel Medicals and Diagnostics. I moved back to Nigeria in August 2016 from the UK. And then I joined my big brother, Dr. Ogumbo. He just walked out. And then we were spine fixed in Abuja. I fully moved back to Nigeria in May 2017. And then we evolved from being spine fixed in Abuja to being brain and spine surgery consulting. But in the last few months, we've sort of metamorphosed, and then now we are doing things more independently. And but I still get involved with brain and spine surgery consulting, especially with complex brain cases. One of the things that happened when I moved back in May 2017 was we moved from doing the talk to action. So brain and spine surgery consortium went into partnership with Citadel Medicals and Diagnostics. Brain and spine surgery consortium providing the specialist capacity, in terms of technical capacity, and in the first 24 hours, extending to the first 1 week, one of the key issues we worry about is a rebleed. A rebleed is fatal in more than 50% of patients. They hardly make it. Second thing we worry about is there's the plumbing work in the brain, the water space called the ventricles. Okay, so that plumbing work can be blocked by a blood clot from this fluid, and then what happens in this blood is accumulation of fluid, what we call the hydrocephalus, and then there's lots of raised pressure in the brain, and the patient can suffer daily from that. Number two. Number three, for some reason, and I think it's like there are experiments and research still going on, the blood vessels when the patient bleeds from subarachnoid hemorrhage goes into spasm, and you can actually have proper strokes on that, or what the ladies came deficits. Okay? So those are the three key things we worry about with these patients. Looking after them, of course, is an emergency, your normal A, B, C, and all that, which we talked about earlier on. Aneurysm through the ages. 1968, Latunde Odeko, the first Nigerian neurosurgeon, in fact, the second African neurosurgeon, bought it right in the USA. And you can see that almost 63% of all the vascular lesions that get documented around that period were aneurysms. Dr. Ogumbo talked about digital subtraction angiogram, but no, this is a plain angiogram. They couldn't do digital subtraction in those days. Remember, that's 1968. But you can see a nice posterior communicating atrial aneurysm. You can imagine, in 1968, yet nowadays we struggle to do angiograms in Nigeria. How low we have fallen. And this is also one of his angiograms as well. You can see that massive dilatation of the internal carotid artery there. Okay, a little bit more data from the past, a blast from the past, and you look at the ante-mortem data of the aneurysms around that 10-year period there. You can see that they had 6 aneurysms there. I'm more interested in people who were alive. And then out of those 6, they clipped 3 of them, did a vision for 1, and packed 1. Fantastic, isn't it? All those ways, but they were doing this kind of complex brain surgeries. Did you all know that? Okay, this is data from St. Ibadan, and this is from 2009 to 2016, a 7-year period. They had about 55 patients, and then they clipped about 21 of them, they packed about 3 of them, and then what's really interesting there is that the interval from when patients presented to when they got clipped or when they were looked after was 3 to 16 weeks. And that's the outcome that we talked about, the modified ranking scale, the Glasgow outcome scores data, and all that. Okay, I tried looking online to see some of the publications regarding subarachnoid hemorrhage in Nigeria. That's from 1973 to 1975, a 2-year period, and they looked at the stroke registry, and about 11.3% were subarachnoid hemorrhage. Also, this is from UNTH, and in over a 20-year period, they had about 38 patients who had hemorrhagic strokes, and about 22 of them were subarachnoid hemorrhage. That was published in 2008. Introducing you to the aneurysm gladiators. Now, this is Citadel Medicals and Diagnostics, and this is their theater. Remember what they say, I said to deliver complex care, complex neurosurgical care, you need capacity. Capacity in terms of the technical, technological, or the hardware, and also the human beings who know what they're doing. So that's my baby, that operating microscope there. And basically you have all this stuff, the X-ray box, the all-in-one PC, and you have that HDTV. And that HDTV is, you can connect the operating microscope there and you actually see everything that's happening from the microscope. Of course, we have all those fantastic LED light, which you can actually see stuff on the TV. And we also do complex spinal surgery as well. So you see ICU, they have a 2-minute ICU with all the stuff that you need to look after complex neurological patients. This is the operating microscope in Wellington Hospital. I talked about Wellington earlier on. That's a Calzes S4 microscope. I struggle with that thing. My God. Moving around. We're talking about looking at such patients in a resource-limited setting, isn't it? Now that's what we have for now. A big struggle. Also, Wellington has tried. Also, they have this neuro navigation system. GPS, remember GPS, in terms of precision and accuracy of getting to a lesion in the brain and even in the spine, they have that system. I think they're probably one of the few people in Nigeria, or maybe the only people that have it. And guess what? In the next few weeks, an S8 Calzes microscope that can be connected up to the camera and everything is coming to Wellington. So we are moving forward. It's a journey, isn't it? Okay, so 14 patients. Now, the statistics I'm giving you when we talk about the Abuja experience is from Wellington Hospital and the Brain and Spine Surgery Citadel collaboration or partnership. Okay? Of those 14 patients, you can see the stats there, the breakdown. I'm sure everybody can read. I'm not going to read my slide back to you. Well, out of those 14 patients, 43%, the 6 of them had craniotomy and surgical clipping in Abuja. And I've been involved in 5 of these procedures, in fact, in the last 8 months, from October 2017 till last month. They're going to clap for me now. One of them who presented to Wellington sometime in April 2015 actually headed up to London, and then they actually clipped their aneurysm. That was a posterior communicating arterial aneurysm. And then one of them, who was actually one of the first patients in this series, in October 2012, actually went to London and had endovascular coil. What's Gina? Nice. These patients, this series is actually from about 5.5 years plus. So all the way from 2012 October till last month. And that's a breakdown of the different types of aneurysms that were actually found in these 14 patients. Okay? One of them actually had a hypophyseal aneurysm, very interesting case, actually sad case. And then one of them actually had 2 bilateral mirror-shaped aneurysms. Okay, now I'm going to go to the stories. First of all, this lady in November 2017 had headaches now and again, sentinel bleeds, warning bleeds, and then had a massive bleed, soreness of headaches, passed out, fully unconscious, GCS3. And you can see interhemispheric subarachnoid blood there. Now, this is a CT angiogram, some sort of reconstruction done in Wellington. They have a GE 16-slice CT scanner. You can see at this point he was still learning. But still, you can still appreciate the anterior communicating artery aneurysm there. Can everybody appreciate that? Can we all appreciate that? You can see the bleb there. So she went on, she was really unwell. She was a poor grade subarachnoid hemorrhage, GCS3, totally flat. But I think she had also some issues, respiratory issues and all that. And then within 24-48 hours in the ICU, she became a little bit stable. Dr. Charles Ogwani, who actually pushes and manages the Wellington Hospital, called me and said, hey, what do we do? Do you think we should crack on and clip this patient? And I said, okay, that's fine. The last time I clipped an aneurysm was during my subspecialty training to become a neurovascular surgeon, and that was in October 2015. So 2 years later, for 2 years I had not done anything. I was really getting scared. Hey, do I still have the skills? So in October 2017, Charles called me, and then this was the first aneurysm that we clipped, that I got involved in clipping in Nigeria. We went ahead, did the job. I think I actually took out the recurrent angioedema in this lady, but luckily it was her non-dominant hemisphere on the right side. She has done very well. This is her post-op CT. That's a post-op CT scan. And you can probably appreciate the clip somewhere around there when it comes up. Yep, that's the clip. Okay, I see a little bit of the blood in the hemispheric, a little bit of the clip there. That's a combination of some cerebral edema and probably a small infarct as well. You can see the area of the around the ventricle there. Probably the infarct from us taking the recurrent angioedema. And that's post-op CT angiogram. The reconstruction, you can see they've improved by this time. Comparing that to that. So we're actually gaining momentum, we are walking the journey. And you can see the bleb, the previous CT angiogram I showed you. There, you can see what's supposed to be. The clip has done its work. Presently, she's like MRS 3 or so. She's actually done very well. Someone who was almost dead. And now she actually has good trunk control. She's moving her hands. She's actually speaking and all that. So she's done very well from where she was. Interesting is, this lady also later part of November 2017, we got involved with her. In August 2017, she had a sudden onset of left-sided headaches, and then down the way, a few days a week, developed some ptosis and some difficulty moving that eye. So she developed an ophthalmoplegia, a third nerve palsy. And guess what? They were treating her for malaria and typhoid. Malaria and typhoid. Oh my God, going Lagos, I can say that's Lagos. Okay, can anybody spot the aneurysm? That's actually quite a large aneurysm, isn't it? And she actually has twin aneurysms. She has a small one on the right side as well. Okay, now this lady has developed a third nerve palsy, so she's not looking at CT scan. She actually has not bled, but has what we call a symptomatic bleed. First case I was involved in, this 38-year-old gentleman came in, sudden onset of headaches, meningism, classical features of subarachnoid hemorrhage, had the CT scan. You can see the blood there in the sylvian fissure on the right side, but also you can see some interhemispheric blood as well. And then the CT angiogram actually shows mirror aneurysms, both MCA aneurysms between the M1 and M2 junction pointing downwards. So that's one on the right side where he has actually bled from, and there's actually one on the left side there. Use your eye of faith and appreciate that one, but this is definitely the one on the right side. So we went ahead to do something for him as well. So this is the third aneurysm I was involved in. And that's just me with my nice Marvel comic hat, drawing some lines on his head. That's us fixing the head with our Mayfield pins, and that's us doing the craniotomy for the patient. The S4 microscope that we use here, the one that I struggle with, doesn't have any connection to the TV, so unfortunately you can't see what's happening intraoperatively. And that's Alex, after a few weeks after his operation, doing very well. And that's his post-op CT angiogram. You can see the clip there. And with the eye of faith, the aneurysm which was pointing down has been walled or taken out of the circulation. Okay, this lady is a 55-year-old lady, but I'll tell you about the 60-year-old lady first. 60-year-old lady comes into the hospital, subarachnoid hemorrhage, GCS 11, localizing really poorly, and then she has bled from a left MC aneurysm and has a big temporal lobe clot as well. And then there are issues of logistics. I speak to both the husband and the daughter of this lady, and I tell them, one of the things we are worried about is a rebleed. A rebleed is fatal. And what's her answer? God forbid, exactly. God forbid. And I said, hey, this was about 2 p.m. in the afternoon. I said, hey, we need to sort out logistics. Remember, all these patients are in the private sector. You know we struggle in the public sector with delivering complex neurosurgical care to our patients. Now I tell her, I say, hey, we need to sort out logistics. I don't deal with money. I'm just interested in looking after your wife and your mom. I hope we can operate on your mom by tomorrow. Please sort out logistics. Next morning, hey, they've not paid money. I said, really? This lady is in trouble. Yes, Nigeria was going to go. Okay, so this is the second day that she's coming to the hospital, and by the evening of that day, they're like, oh, I think they paid 500,000 naira or something. I said, okay, let's crack on the case, please, if you guys are happy that logistics have settled out. By 2 a.m., they call me, oh, her blood pressure has gone up, she's blown her people, she has rebled, she's dead. So that was a 60-year-old lady. Now, Dr. Ogwine, who pushes things, who is the lead person in Wellington, says, hey, we have to change our strategy. Let's not wait for money anymore. Let's not wait for them to sort out logistics. Let's crack on with the patient. So this patient comes along. 55-year-old lady, soreness of headaches, weird symptoms, paraplegic, paraparetic, weakness on both legs. When we assess, she has something that looks like some third palsy on the right side. I'm like, hey, what's happening here? She's about GCS 14, she's confused. What do you think the aneurysm will be? Tina, what do you think?
Probably cabinet segment. Aneurysm, maybe?
Okay, maybe.
ACOM? Leg weakness, ACOM. ACOM aneurysm.
So, can you see that? She has a hypophyseal aneurysm, relatively rare. Hypophyseal aneurysm. And then we do a fantastic job. We go ahead and we do an anterior clinectomy. Yes. Dr. Emeka Waribe, one of the guys who just finished his training in Abuja, was drilling. Wow, you're drilling very close to the internal carotid artery. Wow, I've never seen this before. Excitement. And yes, post-operatively, fantastic technical job. You can see the clip there. Oops. Oops. I'm going back. Oops. Oops. There's an ACOM aneurysm. We actually missed the proper aneurysm and clipped the wrong aneurysm.
You didn't have a neurologist.
You didn't have a neurologist.
Even as gladiators, we are not God. They both start with G.
Doc, the patient came with bilateral leg weakness.
Yes.
You need a neurologist next time.
We need a neurologist.
Had a neuro test.
Yes. But keep it here. Remember, we said, oh, any patient that comes in, we need to move, we need to push. You need to not have money. Now, Dr. Anyan has been talking about 50,000, 30,000. No, the CT scan in Abuja is somewhere between 55 to 75,000. This patient's family finally paid just about 30,000 naira. Just 30,000. She had about 3 scans and all that. Okay? When she bled there, we said, oh, we need to. When she bled, she dropped the level of blood. She was now localizing. We said, hey, we went back, looked at the scans. We need to clip the other aneurysm. And the husband was like, hey, no, I don't have any money. And then took the patient home. Of course, she died.
But in all fairness, I mean, you may have gotten the scan and didn't see a hemorrhage there initially. Was that the case?
Yeah.
So that's
Dr. Oka, just Just, I think a teaching point for the students would be the gyrus rectus hemorrhage, which usually points.
So a gyrus rectus hemorrhage, an interhemispheric hemorrhage with lots of blood in the interhemispheric is telling you that most probably is an anterior communicating artery aneurysm. Okay? But if you look at the first scan,
It didn't show a
it's more of just supercellular, maybe a little bit going into the cerebral vision. Okay? But still, I'll get to that later in my talk. Next patient. This chappie, he is 44, and then he came in classical meningism, so, acute headaches and all that, and then like China said, most probably that should be a done. Can we all see that? So definitely communicating arterial aneurysm. Same way, to remember the first angiogram, we're improving, isn't it? And we're also getting an S8 microscope as well. So we are going from point A to point B. Now, for this case, we cracked up and we did a craniotomy for clipping of this anterior communicating arterial aneurysm. And what we did, this was really, really interesting. So, Chine, you know what we did? We found the two A1s, right? And then we tracked it and we did proximal control. And I told them, I said, start counting 15 minutes. And then started dissecting on the rectus gyrus within 15 minutes. And then after the case, I was like, oh my God, meanwhile I was struggling with the microscope, remember? And then after the case, I told the family, I said, see, I suspect very strongly that your husband, your brother is going to have significant stroke. They are Muslims, so I said, go start praying. Well, that's the post-operative scan. Put 3 straight clips. We didn't even have all the 90-degree clips, 2 straight clips. So we're talking about looking after this patient in a resource-limited setting. Probably, I don't know, maybe because of the 15 minutes and stuff, it looks like the correct artery of human head. It looks like it suffered a little bit of edema, and we took lots of the rectus gyrus clots out. This guy did very well. Fully conscious, post-operatively, no deficits at all. You can clap again if you want. And then you can see the 3 clips there. Okay? Let me just take you through this. So this is the internal carotid artery on the left side, internal carotid artery on the right side going to the MCA. That MCA there. And then you can see the A1 on that side, which is the dominant A1. And then the A1 on that side actually saw it, but it's really, really small. I can see the 3 clips. 1, 2, 3. And then even better still, pre and post. Remember this pre-op scan for the aneurysm? And you can see our 3 clips, 1, 2, 3. Because if you can look at that, those 2 A2s there, those 2 A2s, and where the aneurysm is, you can see we've actually done a good job. So key thing I always say is that to deliver complex care for Nigerians, complex neurosurgical care, complex brain surgery care, it takes more than facilities, it takes more than equipment, it takes more than technology. It takes human beings who are dedicated, who are passionate. Moving forward, lessons. Working together. I love the people in one place and talking about these things. It's absolutely important. The Nigerian Health Act, signed into law by Jonathan, 2014, our former president. Part 3, Section 54 states that the Federal Ministry of Health, the State Ministries of Health, the local health authorities, every private provider must disseminate information and display information about the services they provide. I know that the Medical and Dental Council Code of Ethics talks about not advertising self. But it can't be a situation where you want to look for a neurosurgeon and you go online and the first one you see is someone in India and you don't know what's happening in Nigeria. 9. I'm not interested in advertising anything. I just want to provide information for Nigerians. Nigerians need to know what the capacity down in Nigeria is. A 85% of Nigerians who go outside Nigeria for neurosurgical care, complex neurosurgical care, do not need to go outside Nigeria. That capacity rests within. Pass the message across. There's a key issue about the financial body, the 3 A's in terms of accessibility, affordability, and affordability. In the short term, the private sector, which is blazing the trail in terms of providing complex care for Nigerians, can only help with availability. Affordability at this point is a struggle, and that is the truth. Complex neurosurgical care is expensive everywhere in the world. Looking at such patients in India, in proper places in India, is about 2.5 times what you look at in the private sector in Nigeria. In Germany, about 5 times the amount. In UK, roughly about 6 times. In US, about 10 times the amount. So, yeah, relatively quite expensive for the average Nigerian, but when you look at comparative costs, much cheaper than going outside Nigeria. And I tell you, believe me, that capacity rests in Nigeria, and I'll show you. I'm not showing you what we can do, I'm showing you what we have done. There's a difference. So the key issues of financial body is a major one. We have to start looking at how we can pull together endowment funds. All these big senators, House of Rep and stuff like that. They should, all the money that they are using for their wardrobe allowance, they should bring more so we can help poor people who have these complex problems. Funny, but we should think of innovative and creative ways to start. The NHIS is a joke at this point. I can tell you that for free. It's a joke, and we all know that. And of course, moving forward, new skills, technology. GNM, when are we going to start having endovascular coiling in Nigeria, endovascular treatment? When?
We will.
More than 90% of patients, you can put me, tell me if I'm wrong, in the US and in the UK, more than 90% of them, the neuroradiology interventionists, or people like Chimen, who's a neurosurgeon, does interventional work as well. More than 90% of patients, they will have first refusal. And it's only in some very complex cases or nowadays in young patients with MC aneurysms that you go straight and clip. But in Nigeria, unfortunately, at this point, all our patients will have to be clipped. Oh, that's good in a way. So that means that in the next few years, people will be coming from the US and the UK to come actually do vascular training in Nigeria. Well, yeah, new skills and innovation. And I think with what Dr. Ayer is trying to do with Regions Neuroscience and the Chile coming on board and all that, we will get there. You can see them. Now, what makes us in the Citizen Medical and Diagnosis, I'm showing you some pictures in Wellington Neurosurgery Center and also in Brain and Spine Surgery Consortium. What makes us wake up every morning is quality service that has the underpinning of safety. The aneurysm gladiators, Citizen Medical and Diagnostics, Wellington Neurosurgery Center, Brain and Spine Surgery Consortium, we are open to the CCD way. We want to collaborate, cooperate, and partner with anybody from the east, the north, the west, and the south. I want to do that for one reason and one reason only, and that's what that is. The Nigerian patients are worth it. God bless you.